In this episode, we're going to be going over some very basic tuning situations when it comes down to a horn. I have lots of questions. People always ask me about, how's a horn, how to mount it, how to do all these things. Well, anytime that you're mounting a horn, you want to try to make both the driver's side and the passenger side as close as possible mirrors, okay? The reason for this is path length differences. We want to maximize our path length difference from right to left, or minimize, I'm sorry, I take that back. We're minimizing the path length difference between the two for maximum performance. Because the smaller the number is between right and left, because you got to figure that you're sitting off here to the left-hand side, one speaker's here, another speaker's over there. So you can have 20 inches of difference, between the right and left thing. Well, that's a big problem. That problem is one of the reasons why horns, or in this case, why Eric Stevens had originally designed this horn, was because he could not come up with a way to make things done. He had already gone through many variations of center speakers, speakers in the dash, speakers down on the floor, all sorts of variations. And when he found out about horn stuff, he got very curious. And so he got into designing this, and he came up with a really brilliant way of doing a horn. One of the things that this horn does, in comparison to, like, say, a waveguide does exactly what it sounds like. It helps just guide out, and that's it. And it's just like a broad thing. It's just a speaker, it's a big speaker, and that's it. That's really what the waveguide is doing more than anything else. But in a horn like our horn, we are actually controlling the output along its axis. And so one of the main things when you're tuning a car, you have two primary problems when you're working on a car. One is amplitude, and the other one is time arrival. Amplitude is relatively easy to do, but usually has a tendency to make the car only good on one side. So, like, say for instance, if you set your amplitude and everything on the driver's side, the passenger side sounds like everything is anchored off on the right, onto the right-hand side of the car. So what Eric came up with was he decided to design the throat so that it would control its output. Well, its amplitude is basically what it's doing. And so the high frequencies that are playing on here, depending on where you cross it over and stuff like that, is being set, by the angle. This throat here has a 22-degree angle center. And so when you're straight on right here on the throat, your output is minimized in high frequencies because directional information is usually associated with amplitude over a certain frequency range. And so you're cutting them down in this way. And that way it helps basically, just like in a balance configuration, you're just simply balancing over the system over to the center. Now, the beauty is that because it happens both on the driver's side and the passenger side, it's the identical thing. So if you're sitting on the passenger side, the same thing is happening as it is on the driver's side, so you don't have to worry about it. More high frequencies are being crossed here in the center, and that way that helps us create that phantom center image. Both in the mini body and the big body, they're done identically the same, except that on a mini body, our throat area is smaller in comparison to the large, and so we can only go down to, like, say, 1,000 hertz or so. But the same steering mechanisms are happening inside this body. One note: this one has a harder cross, and so for certain vehicles, this is a better choice than in comparison to this one here. Like, say for instance, cars with large center consoles and stuff like that, the big body is actually a better choice because of the angle on which everything is being splayed out on the throat. Smaller cars and etc., or you're close up to the steering wheel, this body is a better choice on that also. So both bodies are great to have, and they both serve different purposes. If you have questions on this about, which one would be best for your car and stuff like that, the best thing to do is just simply give us a call. We'll be more than happy to sit down with you, talk to you about this, and get you a little bit more educated in the horn body itself. But in general, like I said, the reason why that we have these is they're great for using a tuning tool. One other thing to note on this whole thing: a horn isn't like a mid and a tweet. Okay, it doesn't have that super laid-back sound. Okay, the reason for this is that the horn's energy gets to you first. Okay, it's almost like lasers, and I'm being overly simplified when I say this. Okay, because about everybody that just heard me say that probably just cringed. But I'm just being oversimplified in terms of what I'm saying here. But basically, the energy gets to us first before the reflections do. Because that happens, our brain says, wow, it's kind of like forward or something like that. Now, that doesn't mean that you cannot lay back a horn. It just means that there's a lot of energy. It's kind of like being at a live concert. It's like being no, actually, it's better than that. It's more like being at a small venue, like a small club or something like that. We have a live band on the stage and stuff. You get that really high energy kind of output. You have super efficiency with the horn itself, plus also its output control and everything else. And so you end up with this very visceral kind of feel to it. I mean, it just comes and pours over you. Some people don't like that. And so again, it's not that you can't deal with it, you just have to tune it. You have to go in, you set your EQ the way that you want it and stuff, and lay it back more and stuff. Not just simply go in and just simply go in and sit there and go, oh well, they're just terrible. One of my favorite stories I always have is that when I first installed horns, I hated them. I thought they were the worst thing in the whole world. But in the end, what I found out when I reinstalled them again and stuff like that, I found out the reason why I didn't like them was my own opinion. I was being judgmental immediately and assumed that they were bad. But in actual reality, what it turned out to be was that I was the one who caused the problem. I didn't install them right, or I didn't do something correct. So anytime you're doing stereo equipment and stuff like that in a car and stuff, you just have to remember that one rule, is that do not take it on face value and think that immediately that it's total crap or it's just not going to work anymore and stuff. You just don't want to do that. So anyway, but that's it for today's episode, and we will get back later on some more installation techniques and stuff on horns. You have a good day.